Revealed, the incredible journey of a hidden billionaire farmer, a touching, life-changing transformation. Jack Thompson loved his farm more than anything. Each dawn, the sun spilled over the horizon, casting golden rays on his sprawling fields. He could feel the warmth on his weathered hands and sun-kissed skin as he tended to the crops that had been part of his family's legacy for generations. The earthy smell of freshly turned soil felt like home, and the soft moo of the cows and the cheerful clucking of chickens filled him with a sense of peace. The simple joys in life, like a strong cup of black coffee at the local diner and laughter shared with neighbors during Sunday potlucks, kept him grounded, but things weren't as rosy in Maplewood. The town was gripped by anxiety as Tom, Jack's best friend, fought to keep his hardware store from closing. It was a beloved cornerstone of the community, a place where laughter echoed off the walls, and friendships blossomed. Jack's heart ached for Tom, but a heavy secret weighed on his soul. Over the years, he had achieved financial success through careful, wise investments, something no one in town knew. His little hidden fortune could turn around Tom's plight, yet he feared revealing it would change how everyone saw him. Jack attended every community gathering, each conversation buzzing with worries about the future. He sat in silence while Tom shared his struggles, holding back the urge to jump in and save the day. He felt the town's spirit wilting, its laughter and life dimming day by day. At night, sleep eluded him, his mind racing with questions. Should he tell his friends about his wealth or keep it to himself? Would his friends think less of him if they knew? The very core of his identity felt tangled in the shadows of his choices. As the town hall meeting approached, Jack felt the tension hang thick in the air. The locals gathered, voices blending in a symphony of hope and despair. As they debated businesses and survival, all eyes eventually turned to him, their unspoken leader in this crisis. Jack's heart thumped loudly against his chest, the weight of a decision teetering on the edge of revelation. Before he could grasp his thoughts, Tom's voice broke through the crowd, filled with pain. "You were always the lucky one, Jack. Is that why you've kept your wealth a secret?" Silence fell, cold and heavy. Jack could feel every pair of eyes boring into him, confusion and anger pooling as they grasped for answers. He stood at the precipice of honesty, knowing he could save Tom's store and restore hope to Maplewood. But at what expense? Jack's mind raced, the room a blur around him as he contemplated telling the truth and risking friendships he had nurtured for decades. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The tension hung thick, and the whispers grew louder in Jack's ears. Would these friends see him as a villain? Or could he show them that true wealth lies in sharing with others? The path ahead was unclear, and for Jack, it felt as if his choice could change not only his life but the entire community of Maplewood forever. Jack's heart raced in the stillness of the room. Every eye seemed to search for truth, for answers that hung unspoken in the air. He could feel the weight of their expectations, the hum of anticipation vibrating beneath the rough wooden floor. His throat felt tight, each breath heavy with the decision he faced. What if you're wrong? His inner voice whispered, a nagging doubt clouding his thoughts. What if revealing his wealth turned his friends away? What if they saw him as nothing more than a rich farmer, detached from their struggles? The very notion sent a chill up his spine, yet, there was Tom, a friend who had stood by him through thick and thin, eyes filled with a mix of hope and desperation. The truth clawed at Jack's conscience. He could help Tom, but could he handle the fallout? "Jack, we're all struggling here," Tom said quietly, the tremor in his voice cutting through the noise. "You say you care about us, but, do you really?" Jack squeezed his eyes shut for a moment, the fear of judgment mixed with the rising tide of guilt. As he opened them again, he noticed the worry etched on the faces of his neighbors. They weren't just looking for help, they were looking for faith. Faith in each other, faith in their community, and maybe even faith in him. He began, his voice barely above a whisper. "I need to say something. The room fell quieter. Like a flickering light, Jack felt the spark of courage ignite within him. He took a deep breath, steadying himself. I am lucky. I've had opportunities many of you haven't, and yes, I've been blessed with success. A wave of murmurs coursed through the crowd, surprise and curiosity weaving a tapestry of emotions. Jack continued, but I've kept it a secret because I was scared. Scared of how you all might see me. Scared of changing our friendships. He paused, meeting Tom's gaze directly. But I can't watch you lose your store. I've got some money saved up if you all would consider it an investment to help bring our town back to life. Gasps filled the air like a sudden gust of wind. Jack's heart raced as he looked around the room, surprised expressions morphing into appreciation, disbelief, and something that resembled hope. Could they really accept this? Would they still see him as Jack, their friend, or was he now just the hidden billionaire? Tom's eyes glistened, a mix of gratitude and disbelief washing over his features. You'd really do that for us? He managed to say, emotions brimming in his voice. It's not just for you, it's for all of us, Jack replied, his own voice thickening with emotion. Around the room, murmurs began to transform into words of agreement. We can do this together, he implored, feeling a sense of community building in the space between them, but just as hope began to blossom, the door creaked open, and in walked Al, the town's most vocal critic. Jack's stomach dropped as Al's gaze settled on him, suspicion dancing in his eyes. So, the hidden billionaire finally decides to show himself? He challenged, clearly unconvinced. Jack's heart sank, the unease creeping back in. Could this fragile moment withstand Al's wrath? He felt the air shift, tension reforming. The moment of truth had arrived, but could Jack stand firm in his newfound courage? Let us hear what he has to say, Tom urged, stepping closer to Jack, but Al wasn't backing down. Why should we trust you, Jack? You've hidden your success while we've struggled. Al's voice boomed, echoing the fears simmering in the room. Jack took a deep breath, the pivotal moment looming ever larger. Would he find the strength to defend his intentions? How would the town respond to Al's accusations? As silence wrapped around them all, Jack knew one thing: the battle for trust was only beginning. Would he rise to the challenge and unite Maplewood or crumble under the weight of doubt? Jack's heart pounded as Al's words lingered in the heavy air. The room grew colder, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. He felt the weight of scrutiny from every corner of the dimly lit space, the townsfolk's gazes locked onto him like a spotlight. Al, Jack replied slowly, grounding himself in the moment. I've never wanted to hide. I thought my prosperity might create a divide. I was wrong. His voice wavered, but he pressed on, gathering strength from the faces around him. I know my silence has hurt you all. But I promise, my intent is genuine. I'm here to help. Suddenly, a voice came from the back, a woman with flour in her hair, clearly the town baker. Help us how, Jack? We've watched our businesses crumble while you've been hiding in riches. Her frustration hung palpably, simmering like dough waiting to rise. Jack nodded, acknowledging her pain. I see that now. I should have stood up, but I was afraid of being judged as an outsider, a rich man who forgot where he came from. He glanced at Tom, but it's clear I can't let fear shape my choices anymore. What are we supposed to believe? Al shot back, crossing his arms defiantly. How can we trust you'll stay? That you won't run off once things get tough again? Jack clenched his fists, the fire of determination igniting within him. I won't deny the truth, Al. I'm scared, too scared of losing my friends, scared of reaching out like this. But I can't let fear dictate my actions when our community needs me. Jack's words echoed through the crowd, and for a brief moment, he could see the tension in Al's face shift. An almost imperceptible flicker of doubt crossed the critic's eyes. Jack felt a glimmer of hope tug at his heart. Look, I'm not asking you to accept me blindly, Jack continued. But we can rebuild together. My offer is on the table. I want to invest in our businesses, not just for profits but to restore what we've lost. I want to be part of this community. Whispers began to ripple through the crowd, the wearied faces softening slightly. What if he takes all our money and leaves? Another voice murmured, but Jack took a step closer, desperation woven into his rising tone. I promise, I won tea, just throw cash at it and run. I'll work alongside you. I grew up here, I want to see us thrive. A silence fell heavy between them, each person weighing Jack's words. The hope he had kindled began to flicker amid the uncertainty. He glanced around, locking eyes with Tom. Will you help me show them? Tom nodded, conviction filling his gaze. We can be stronger together, Jack. That was all Jack needed. Energized by Tom's support, he turned back to the crowd. I can't undo my past mistakes, but let us pave a better future together. Maplewood isn't just a town, it's family. And I won tea, let us fail. But just as minds began to shift, Al stepped forward once more. Words are words, Jack. What are you willing to risk to prove you're serious? Actions speak louder. Tension crackled in the air. Jack felt sweat bead at his temple. It was no longer just about the money. He took a deep, calming breath, realizing the stakes were much higher than he had anticipated. I'll invest what I have, and I'll personally take on the operations of a failing business. I'll put my heart and soul into making sure it thrives, but I need your support. The crowd murmured, weighing the sincerity in Jack's plea. Would they pull together to give him a chance, or would Al's doubts pull them apart? Jack felt the moment crack open, a fragile bridge between him and the trust he desperately sought. As eyes darted between Jack and Al, the tension swelled once more. This was at the moment where he could either gain their trust or unwittingly seal his fate among them. Would his commitment be enough to change their minds? Could he prove that hidden wealth could indeed lead to shared prosperity? Jack waited, heart racing, as the moment hung delicately in the air, uncertain of what would come next. The first murmur came as a soft breeze stirring the air. It rolled through the crowd, hesitant but unpredictable, igniting conversations that were meant to stay quiet. Jack stood at the center, the beating of his heart echoing in his ears. No one dared to speak up immediately. They were all holding their breath, weighing their choices. Actions, Jack, Alabama repeated, his voice now low and steady, like the calm before a storm. What will you do to prove that you mean what you say? We need more than just words. Jack took a step forward, feeling the warmth from the crowd, but also the chill from their doubt. He scanned the faces before him, some weary, some hopeful, others skeptical, all reflecting a shared history. Each one carried the weight of their struggles, the hardship that had etched lines in their foreheads and shadows in their eyes. What if I take on the old cafe on Main? Jack proposed, his voice rising above the murmurs. It's been closed for too long. I'll spend my own money to renovate it, hire locals to run it, and bring back live music and community events. It can be a gathering place again. A heartbeat of Maplewood. Silence. Then a few whispers, quick like the flap of a bird's wings. He spotted the baker's eyes widen slightly, the glimmer of interest sparked. If you invest your own time and money into the cafe, one elderly man in the front squinted, one tea, you just take it back if it fails? I won tea, Jack declared. I'll invest in it as if it were my very own family. It won tea, just be another business to me, it'll be part of us. Part of home. If I can't make it work, then I'll consider this a total loss for me, too. Do you really mean that? Came a voice from the back. It was a young woman, her face half hidden by her long hair. Are you willing to put it on the line? Jack nodded vigorously. Yes. I'll not only invest, but I'll also learn from all of you. I'll meet with anyone who has ideas for what we could do. We have to be in this together to make it work. Tom stepped beside Jack, adding his own weight to the moment. Jack's been in the shadows too long, but he's ready to step into the light. We can't rewrite the past, but we can build something strong together moving forward. The murmurs transformed again, uncertain at first, but then a growing chorus of intrigued voices discussed the possibilities. Renovating the cafe sounds promising. Imagine the community gatherings again, a voice piped up, filled with longing. Al crossed his arms tightly, still unsure but visibly softening. And if it fails, where does that leave us, Jack? I'll stick around, Jack assured. I'll do whatever it takes to keep my promises. This isn't just a gamble for me, it's an investment in everyone's livelihood. I need your trust, but I also promise to earn it. A glimmer of something shifted in the air. The tension, which had felt so heavy moments ago, started to lift, just a little. But Jack knew it wasn't over yet. All right, let me see it happen, Al said, his expression still wary but no longer hostile. You've got a chance, Jack, but you'll need to prove yourself every day. Somewhere in the crowd, a woman sniffed, her eyes sparkling with the hint of tears, and others began to nod. Jack could feel their guarded hearts beginning to open, but it was still too tentative. As the crowd began to thin out, one familiar face lingered, staring at him with higher hopes than fears. It was Tom again, with a look that said they had just embarked on a wild and challenging journey. Jack took a deep breath, feeling the burden of his promise. There was so much more than a cafe at stake. He needed to form connections, break barriers. But would Al's and the crowd's doubts continue to loom over them like storm clouds? As Jack turned to leave, a familiar figure stepped through the door of the gathering, their eyes intent and stirring with purpose. Jack felt a rush of uncertainty. Who were they, and what news would they bring? Jack felt a lump in his throat as he recognized the figure stepping through the doors. It was Lucy, the local high school art teacher, her presence cutting through the haze of doubt that still hung in the air. Her face was radiant, yet tinged with concern. Jack, she called, her voice steady, carrying across the room, pulling the crowd back in. I heard what you said. The cafe, it means a lot to all of us. He stepped closer, curiosity blooming in his chest. Lucy, what do you think? Can we really make this work? She paused, looking thoughtfully at the assemblage of familiar faces around them. I believe we can, but we'll need everyone on board. We have artists, musicians. We could hold art classes, open mic nights. It's not just about coffee, Jack. It's about everything that makes Maplewood special. An excited chatter rose among the crowd again, this time with renewed energy. Jack felt hope threading through the nervousness. Inspired, he leaned closer to Lucy. If we can show them it can be a place for gatherings again, maybe they'll start trusting me. And that's where we can get creative, Tom said, stepping closer with newfound enthusiasm. We can brainstorm ideas. We could set up events, invite food vendors. Imagine a farmer's market right outside. Jack nodded. The vision swelled in his mind, the cafe bursting with laughter and music, families gathering, old friends reunited. It was a seed of hope that he never thought he'd plant. But just as excitement started to flow, Lucy's expression turned serious. Jack, there's something else, she said, her tone heavy. I've heard whispers. Word is there are plans for a new development project downtown. They want to tear down buildings, and Cafe on Main is one of them. A wave of disbelief crashed over Jack. What? No. We can't let that happen. We need to act fast, she insisted. They're not just talking about the cafe. They want to erase parts of our history. If they see the cafe thriving again, they might back down. It could be the heart of our fight. The reality hit Jack hard. This wasn't merely about reopening a cafe, it was about preserving the heart of Maplewood. His resolve hardened. Then we can't wait. We have to start planning events immediately. If we can unite the community and start a buzz, they LLC the cafe isn't just a building, it's a symbol of everything we hold dear. The crowd murmured with fierce agreement, their energy shifting into a shared purpose. Ideas flew back and forth: art shows, music festivals, kids' talent nights. Jack's heart raced with possibility. But amid the excitement lay a chilling undercurrent of uncertainty. Would they muster the courage as a community, or would the fear of change restrain them? Jack felt the weight of his promise pressing down again, intermingled with a growing sense of responsibility. As the meeting began to wrap up, He sensed he wasn't just leading a movement for a cafe. Something deeper was awakening in Maplewood, a surge of community spirit that had been dormant for far too long. "Remember this moment, everyone," he said, his voice rising above the crowd once more. "Together, we can reshape our future." And just as the crowd began to disperse, a man stepped forward from the shadows, a stranger with a knowing glint in his eye. Jack felt a jolt of apprehension. Who was this man? What role would he play in their fight for the cafe and their community? With that single glance, Jack recognized that the stakes of his promise had just been raised. Jack took a tentative step toward the stranger, curiosity mingling with trepidation. The cafe meeting had just burst to life with possibilities, yet this figure brought a sudden chill. He was dressed in a simple denim jacket, but something in his eyes held a secret, a potential that could either uplift or unravel everything Jack had worked for. "Are you here to support the cafe?" Jack asked, trying to read the man's expression. "I came to see if the rumors were true," the stranger replied, his voice low but clear. "I'm Henry. I've heard about the plans for this place. You've sparked something." Jack's interest piqued. "Do you mean the cafe?" Henry nodded, an edge of urgency in his voice. "More than that. You're igniting something in the community. But you're going to need more than just events to save the cafe. You need influence." "What do you mean?" Jack pressed, the knot in his stomach tightening. "I know people, influential people. I can help amplify your efforts, but it's not without a cost," Henry said, his gaze steady. "Your fight for the cafe may also uncover secrets about this community, and those secrets can be dangerous." Jack could feel the change in the room, the buzz of excitement fading as uncertainty washed over him. The ideas of music festivals and art shows felt light years away from battling against hidden agendas. But the flicker of hope he felt earlier began to return. What kind of secrets? Henry shifted, glancing over his shoulder as if expecting someone to appear. "Powerful people want to erase old traditions, Jack. They want to pave over history in the name of progress. If you're not careful, this fight for the cafe could turn into a fight for your very home." Lucy, sensing the tension, stepped closer. "What do you mean by dangerous?" Henry's expression softened slightly. "If you're not equipped for what is coming, the community might lose more than just the cafe. You could lose confidence in each other. I'll help you, but I need assurances that you're committed. This isn't a small favor, it's a big risk." Jack exchanged glances with Lucy and the others. He saw determination in their eyes, a reflection of the same storm brewing in his own heart. "We're ready to do whatever it takes," he said firmly, though doubt slinked in the corners of his mind. "Then let us get to work," Henry said, a thin smile appearing on his lips. "We begin with rallying the community. They need to believe again, they need to feel empowered. Together, we'll fight for what makes Maplewood special." As they began discussing the next steps, a swarm of ideas erupted, but Jack's mind kept circling back to Henry's words. The whispers of danger felt like a heavy fog settling over them. He couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the edge of something monumental, yet precarious. Then, as the plans began to take shape, the cafe door swung open again. A tall woman with striking blonde hair entered, visibly anxious but determined. Jack felt a shiver run down his spine. Would she bring more complications? Or would she hold the key to their community's survival? The air crackled with anticipation. Jack's heart raced not just from the unexpected arrival, but from the realization that the stakes of their fight were rising, pulling them all further into a challenge that would test the very fabric of their bonds. What truths would this newcomer reveal? And would they strengthen their resolve or unravel everything they fought for? The woman's eyes swept across the room, searching faces with intensity. When her gaze met Jack's, the connection was instantaneous, a strange mix of urgency and familiarity. She stepped forward, the chatter in the cafe dimming as attention shifted towards her. "I'm sorry for barging in," she said, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "I'm Emma. I've been watching what you're doing here and I think I can help." Jack took a step toward her, intrigued. "Help how? What do you know about the cafe?" Emma hesitated, her expression somber. I know more about Maplewood than I let on. My family had roots here long before the current power players began to reshape this town. Lucy's brows knitted together. And what does that have to do with us? Emma inhaled deeply, collecting her thoughts as the weight of memories flashed in her eyes. There's a development plan brewing, one that's going to demolish parts of this community, including your cafe. Those who claim to support growth, they don't care about preserving the heart of Maplewood. The room grew silent, the air thick with dread. Jack felt a chill run through him. The stakes were becoming alarmingly clear. Do you have proof? She nodded firmly. I've seen documents, plans that show the timeline for construction. I was hoping someone would take a stand before it's too late. I couldn't just stand by anymore. Henry chimed in, his expression grave. You're saying this is bigger than just the cafe. We're talking about the very identity of Maplewood. Emma glanced between Jack and Henry, sensing their rising apprehension. Exactly. This isn't just about fighting for a cafe, it's about fighting for all of us. If we don't unite now, we risk losing everything that makes this place home. A flicker of determination ignited in Jack's chest, fueled by Emma's conviction. What do we need to do? We need to gather evidence, rally people, and raise awareness. We're stronger together, Emma urged, her voice gaining volume as she eyed the cafe crowd. They can't bulldoze history if the community stands firm against it. Jack looked around at his friends and all the faces of those who had come to call this cafe their second home. He felt the same pulse of hope that had ignited this venture surge again. We can do this. But as the conversation spun out ideas and strategies, a sense of dread lingered. Jack couldn't shake the feeling that something sinister was lurking in the shadows. From places uncharted, forces might challenge their resolve and their plans. What if they retaliate? Lucy's voice came, filled with concern. What if they silence us? Emma placed a reassuring hand on Lucy's shoulder. Then we fight harder. We must be fearless. We owe it to Maplewood. The energy shifted, intense and focused, yet a gnawing uncertainty wrapped around Jack's heart. The fear of loss danced with hope in a chaotic rhythm. They might be on the verge of something great. Or they could be leaning into disaster. As the excitement began to take hold in the cafe, a sudden crash from the backroom sent shockwaves through the group. Just then, the cafe door swung open again, revealing a figure cloaked in shadows. Anxiety filled the air as they all turned to see who had come next. What more trouble could emerge now? Would they have to defend their space even further, or would this stranger bring about a vital breakthrough? The path ahead felt more treacherous than ever. Before anyone could react, the figure stepped fully into the light, revealing a tall man wearing a wide-brimmed hat pulled low over his face. The tension in the cafe hung like a thick fog, and Jack caught himself holding his breath, waiting for the man to speak. "Excuse me," the stranger said, his voice deep and steady. "I'm looking for Emma." Emma's expression shifted to one of surprise, then resolve. "That's me. Who are you?" The man lifted his hat, revealing piercing blue eyes that seemed to size everyone up in that instant. "My name's Ben. I heard about what's happening here in Maplewood. Seems like there's more than just talk going around." Henry stepped closer to Emma, a protective gesture. "What do you know about our situation?" Ben ran a hand through his tousled hair. "Let's just say I have a vested interest in this place, and I don't appreciate what's being planned. It would destroy not just the cafe, but much of what makes Maplewood special." Emma's eyes widened, glimmering with a mix of hope and confusion. "How do you intend to help us?" "I have connections, resources," he replied, confidence building in his voice. "I can get you the documentation you need. But I'll need something in return. If we're going to save Maplewood, I need you to rally the community. I need you to lead the charge." Jack felt a flutter of excitement at Ben's offer, a rush of adrenaline surged through him. It was like throwing a log onto a spark that had just begun to ignite. "We can do that," he affirmed, looking at Emma and Henry. "We can bring people together. We just need the right push. Lucy, still wary, interjected. And what if this goes sideways? You say you want to save the cafe, but what if you're just another shadow lurking in the dark? Ben hesitated but then met her gaze with sincerity. I get it. Trust is earned, not given. But I'm not here to profit off this place. I want to protect it. My family has a history here too. My grandfather was a farmer in Maplewood. The land, the heart of this town, it means something to me. As the weight of his words settled, the cafe hummed with a restless energy. Jack felt the walls of their small world begin to expand. He could see the glimmer of something changing, possibilities morphing under the flickering lights of the cafe. Emma stepped forward, lighting a fire within the group. Then let us get to work. We're going to need everyone. We can't just sit back and let them take away our future. I can help you organize a community meeting, Ben offered, scribbling his phone number on a napkin. It's time we stand together. I'll be in touch. As he stepped back into the shadows, a blend of exhilaration and fear threaded through the cafe. Everyone exchanged glances, the air thick with unspoken thoughts and a shared awareness of what was at stake. Are we really going to do this? Lucy asked, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. Yes, Jack declared, conviction surging. We are. We're not just fighting for a cafe. We're fighting for our home. For Maplewood. Just then, the cafe door swung open again, and a dark figure filled the entrance, a different silhouette this time, one that was far less inviting. Their demeanor radiated an air of menace, and the room suddenly felt like a stage set for confrontation. What trouble awaited them now? Did they have the strength and unity to confront whatever came next? The figure stepped into the cafe, cloaked in shadow. Jack's heart raced as the door creaked shut behind the newcomer. This was no friendly face, a chill swept through the room. The man was broad-shouldered, his jaw clenched tight. He scanned the cafe, eyes settling on Emma. I'm not here for conversation, he growled, voice harsh as gravel. I'm here to put an end to all this nonsense. Emma stood her ground, fingers clenched around the napkin where Ben's number was scrawled. You don't know what you're talking about, she replied, her voice steady. Oh, I know what I'm talking about, he sneered, stepping closer. I represent the interests that want to tear this place apart. Maplewood's days are numbered. Murmurs rippled through the cafe. Jack could feel the fear taut in the air. But as he glanced at Henry and Lucy, he also saw determination flaring bright in their eyes. Emma took a deep breath, summoning every ounce of courage within her. Well, you're wrong, she said boldly. We're not going down without a fight. And you can't bully us into submission. He let out a dark chuckle, stepping fully into the light. The clarity hit Jack like a punch. It was clear this wasn't just a random goon. This was someone who had power, someone who could make threats with dangerous implications. Do you really believe you can stand up to what's coming for you? You're outnumbered and outmatched, the man retorted, a sickening confidence in his voice. Jack's stomach churned. What if he was right? But they had to fight. They had to protect what was theirs. We have to stick together. There's strength in numbers, he murmured to his friends, trying to bolster their resolve. The man took a step back, scoffing. Numbers don't mean a thing when they're against the people who run this town. Get ready to watch everything you love fall apart. With that, he turned and stormed out, the door slamming shut behind him. Silence descended, the weight of those words lingering like smoke. Emma's face paled, but something flickered in her eyes, a wild spark. He thinks we'll just roll over, but he's wrong, she insisted. We can't let fear stop us. We need to meet with everyone. The community has to know what's at stake. Lucy nodded slowly, her uncertainty giving way to a newfound sense of purpose. And we can use social media to spread the word. Get a meeting set up before it's too late. Jack's mind raced, his fingers itching as plans began to swirl. Let us book the town hall for this weekend. If we can pack the room, we'll send a message. They quickly divided tasks, a rush of hope flooding the cafe like warm sunlight breaking through the clouds. Just wait until Ben hears about this, Emma said, excitement bubbling beneath her uncertainty. We're going to need his help in leveraging the stakes. But as they worked to rally the community, a sense of dread gnawed at Jack. The man from before, whoever he was, wasn't he going to let them make this easy? As the group began drafting flyers and setting up their social media campaign, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that they were racing against time. Every minute counted, and there was no telling what dark forces were moving behind the scenes. Are we really ready for whatever comes next? He asked, glancing around at the faces of his friends. Emma's confidence steadied him. We have each other, and this town. That's more than enough. But just then, a loud crash echoed from outside the cafe, shattering the fragile hope they had built. What was that? Lucy squeaked, eyes wide with fear. Jack exchanged a worried glance with Emma. Whatever it is, it's not good. With uncertainty swelling in their chest, they braced themselves. What next challenge awaited them outside those cafe doors? The crash outside reverberated in Jack's chest like a drumroll, each echo a reminder of the storm brewing over Maplewood. He shot a quick look around the cafe. Fear danced in the eyes of his friends, but also sparks of determination flickered. Stay here, he instructed, summoning his courage as he pushed the cafe door open. The scene outside was chaos. Neighbors stood scattered in disbelief as debris littered the street. A truck, its engine growling, had just dumped scraps of metal and plaster from an old building that had stood for decades. Jack's heart raced. This wasn't just an accident, it was a message. Jack! Look! Emma's voice cut through the noise as she pointed. There, at the front of the truck, stood the man who had threatened them earlier, now flanked by burly security types. They were taking apart the remnants of what had been a local landmark, a silent symbol of the town's history. It's happening, Lucy breathed, horror settling over her features. They're trying to erase us. Jack's blood boiled as he stepped forward, the urgency of the moment pushing him into action. Hey! You can't do this! He shouted, his voice strong enough to remind him of the fight coursing through his veins. The man's eyes locked onto Jack's, amusement etching a smirk across his face. And who's going to stop me, farmer? You? This quaint little cafe full of your friends? Jack's throat tightened, but something sparked inside him. He was done being afraid. He turned back to the cafe crowd. We need to gather everyone now. If we don't stand up for our town, what are we fighting for? Courage swelled around him like a tide, shining in the faces of his friends and neighbors. Emma grabbed Lucy's hand, nodding. Let us show him we're not afraid. We have to rally support. Tom moved to the front, fire rekindled in his eyes. This is our home. We need to let them know we won't back down. Let us get everyone, we can make noise. Suddenly, the uninterrupted flow of action surged. They ran back inside the cafe, quickly gathering flyers they had printed. Jack took charge, and together they sketched signs, frantically crafting messages of unity, hope, and determination. In minutes, the cafe bustled with energy. Laughter and urgency filled the air, harmonizing hopes to defy the threat outside. Jack looked around, neighbors bonding together, fueling each other's strength. They were a community, one that refused to yield. Soon, the sound of footsteps thundered in the distance as a group of locals began to converge, joining arms with resolve. Children clasped banners, families carried placards that boldly declared, "We are Maplewood." With every passing moment, the crowd that amassed transformed into an army of resilient hearts. Jack felt alive, brimming with a wild exhilaration that punctured all uncertainty. They were all in this together, fighting for their history, for their future. As the townspeople grew closer, Jack stepped forward, calling for silence. Let them see us, let them see we stand united. The shouting grew louder as kids climbed onto adults' shoulders, waving makeshift signs. The man from the truck watched as the transformation unfolded. The disbelief on his face morphed into fury as Jack locked eyes with him. In that moment, Jack felt the weight of his choices before him, no longer a hidden billionaire, but an active part of his community. He raised his voice, the proclamation bursting forth. We don't just want a cafe, we want our home. This isn't just land to us, it's where our lives, our stories, and our futures are rooted. That was it. The cheers erupted around him, weaving through the town's fabric, rallying hearts as every person shouted in unison, standing in solidarity. What's happening? The disbelieving man smirked, anger boiling in his chest. The tide had turned. Jack could feel it. The bonds forged that day were electric, carrying the very essence of Maplewood's spirit. Tom stepped up beside Jack, his face a mask of determination. We're not here for just a cafe. We're here for our legacy. For our roots. For those who came before us. You don't get to erase that. Fueled by the community's strength, Jack felt belief surge within him like heat. He glanced at Emma and Lucy, their pride in him fueling his spirit. They were fighting not just for a cafe or a piece of land. They were fighting for love, family, and the future of Maplewood, and in that moment, Jack knew they would win. Hope burned brightly among them, a beacon of resilience ready to light the way. A final shout rang clear and loud through the streets. It was a reminder that they weren't just ordinary people, they were a family vibrant, determined, and unyielding. Together, they could face anything that challenged their home. This was just the beginning. As the night settled, and the crowd began to disperse, renewed energy flowed through Jack's veins. They had made a stand. They had taken the first step toward returning home, and there was no turning back. Now, it was up to them to shape their destiny. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, it seriously makes a difference. Comment on your reactions and feelings about this ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.